Hello, folks, and welcome to the Deep Fried Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Fry, and thanks for listening. Well, last Thursday, the Chiefs beat the Broncos in Mile High. The biggest story in that game, Patrick Mahomes dislocated his kneecap on a QB sneak. MRIs have showed that not too much terrible damage was done, and he's got a little bit of a strain in there and will be out 3 to 6 weeks. Very lucky. The Packers on Sunday beat the Raiders 42-24. It was really close in the first half, but then the Packers just went on a scoring spree in the second, and the Raiders could not keep up. The Falcons, again, lost at home, this time to the Rams. The Rams finally showed up. They looked pretty good. Of course, they're playing against the Falcons. Matt Ryan got hurt in that game. The Niners beat the Redskins 9-0, only field goals in that game. It looked like a swamp down in Washington, D.C., and I'm not talking about politically. Colts beat the Texans. Jacoby Brissett looks pretty darn good. Vikings beat the Lions. Cousins has been on fire since his teammates called him out. Jaguars beat the Bengals. Well, they better. Cardinals went up to New York and beat the Giants. Kyler Murray is looking pretty good. And I thought that the Giants would defend their home stadium against the Cardinals, but apparently they're a lot worse than we thought. The Bills beat the Dolphins by 10. Thought that maybe they'd whoop them a little bit more, especially up in Buffalo. But hey, whatever. The Bills are 5-1. Titans beat the Chargers. There's a little bit of a controversy in that game with the scoring at the very end, but the Titans looked much better with Tannehill at the helm. Ravens beat the Seahawks in Seattle. Impressive win. Saints beat the Bears. Teddy Bridgewater is undefeated as Drew Brees' replacement, but Drew should be back either week 8 or week 9. Cowboys whooped the Eagles, and gosh, I don't know what's wrong with the Eagles, but they should be much better by now. And the Jets lost to the Patriots 33-0 last night for Monday Night Football. I heard some people thinking that the Jets might have had a chance. Nope. But let me get to this. The Washington Nationals swept the St. Louis Cardinals and made it to the World Series for the first time in their history. This includes their time as the Montreal Expos. That franchise was founded in 1968 and was the very first major league club located outside the U.S. The Toronto Blue Jays, on a side note, came into existence in 1977. But in 2004, with the success of baseball in Montreal proving to be unattainable, the team packed up and moved to Washington, D.C. to become the Nationals. This is not the first team to play there, though. The Washington Senators, also known as the Nationals, began in 1901. And eventually moved to Minnesota in 1961 to become the Twins. I personally find it to be annoying when franchises begin or move to a city and assume the name of a team that no longer resides there, much like the Cleveland Browns did in the NFL. When you research the Browns championships, you find that they have 8, 4 in the NFL, and 4 in the AAFC, all before the Super Bowl era. All won by the team that currently resides in Baltimore, named the Ravens, who were the Browns in Cleveland until 1996 when Art Modell moved them. A short 3 years later, in 1999, the new Cleveland Browns were born. Technically, that team hasn't won a thing. So do the Ravens have 8 championships, or do the Browns? Do you see why I'm irritated? Thankfully, there's 43 years between the Nationals teams in Washington, and the former team only won the World Series once back in 1924. It's a whole lot easier to separate the two than the Browns. Still, please stop naming, or should I say renaming teams, with the exact same title. It's frustratingly confusing. But at least it's better than the NBA changing its Washington ball club from the Bullets to the Wizards, which they did just before the greatest Wizard franchise of all time was created, Harry Potter. Those Wizards are crazy. I never got into that series, but it's proved viable when shopping for birthday gifts, anniversaries, and Christmas gifts. Thank you, J.K. Rowling. You've made my life much easier. But back to the Nats. I will be rooting for them this year, and they're matched up against the Astros. Of course, if they were matched up against the Yankees, I would be rooting for them because I root for any team against the Yankees. I'm sure all of you know that the Yankees are the evil empire of baseball. They used to always just buy their teams. You remember back in the day when they just paid for Giambi and paid for A-Rod and paid for Randy Johnson and paid for Roger Clemens and paid for all these guys to win those championships. Now they have some homegrown talent like Aaron Judge, but they're still paying lots of money for extra guys like Giancarlo Stanton. I wish there was a salary cap in baseball so this wouldn't happen. And if there was a salary cap in baseball, I think the Oakland A's would have won a few World Series by now, since their last one in 1989 when they swept the San Francisco Giants. They do it right, and you found that out in the book Moneyball. Didn't so much explain how the A's did their business in the movie, but you get the picture. The biggest reason why I'm rooting for the Nationals is Bryce Harper and his gaudy monstrosity of a contract. For those of you who don't know, the Philadelphia Phillies gave him 13 years for $330 million. Seems like a little much, right? How can anyone possibly justify a contract like that? This is baseball. Can the Phillies actually get a return on that? $350 million to play a game? I just don't get it. He's good, and he's fun to watch, which is badly needed in the sport. But $330 million? And 13 years? What the hell is that about? He's 27 years old. Do they actually think he will play to his potential until age 40 with no injuries? In his first 7 years, he was a 6-time All-Star, 2012 Rookie of the Year, 2015 MVP, and he won the Home Run Derby in 2018. Impressive, but is it worth that contract? I don't know. And let's not delve into why or why not. The Nationals making the World Series without Bryce Harper is poetic justice. They didn't want to pay all that money for him. He went somewhere else to another team who had a bigger bankroll, the Phillies. And the first year that he's gone, the Nationals make the World Series. That is fantastic. The Nationals put in the work this year. They've got a really good pitching staff with Scherzer leading the way, and Strasburg's pretty good. I mean, he's gotten through his injuries, and he's pretty consistent. But they're running into a buzzsaw in the Houston Astros. And I don't watch baseball that much anymore, but watching the Astros is fun. That whole lineup can hit the ball well. And then they have that starting pitching staff with Verlander, Garrett Cole, and now they got Zach Greinke. And also, their bullpen is amazing. I just don't see how the Nationals can beat them. They're just really too complete of a team. And you saw Jose Altuve had a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth when the game was tied to send them to the World Series. That was nice. Well, folks, I will be rooting for the Nationals. It's a nice story, but I don't know if they have a chance. Here's to you. Good luck. Folks, I just had a really good time watching sports this weekend. I hope you did too. If you like my show, please like it and subscribe. I'd love to get some more subscribers and actually do this for a living. But hey, it's just kind of a hobby right now. If you could share it with your buddies, then they could just subscribe too. Or your gal friends, your girls, he or she. I better be inclusive in this outraged culture of political correctness. Sorry, folks. Music has been provided by Ben Sounds. Ho, Ben! Fantastic. Thank you. Goodbye.